Hello, this is Guide on how to use wing formation in Empire and Napoleon Total War Naval Battle. In usual naval battle, you will use and see a lot of singular line formation. The benefit of this is that the ship in behind can protect the rear end of the ship in front of you. The rear end of the ship is always the most vulnerable part. It doesn't have any armor, it's made of glass. If you get hit in the rear, you will take more damage and you'll also get moral shock. And single line formation kind of works like an arrow or spear. It penetrates the enemy line, try to encircle around them, and work as a breaking through formation. But the problem is that in Empire Total War and Napoleon Total War, there are certain factions that are too OP compared to other factions, which would be British faction. British ships have higher hit points and faster reload speed, so you cannot really dogfight with the British fleet as you would. I'm using the French fleet right here. French ships usually have faster speed and has higher accuracy. And one of the features of naval battle is that ships are really slow. It takes a long time for them to get to the front line, start engaging with you. So you can manage to put more firepower against the enemy at the moment, even though you have lesser fleet. Now, as I said, the line formation is good for breaking through, but as you can see, some of the firepowers are behind, so some of these ships back here would take long time before they get in front line and start engaging with the enemy. So what I'm gonna do here is try to spread them out in wing formation. Good. Now, this is the wing formation. Benefit of this formation is that compared to singular line formation, more of those ships can fire upon the enemy at the same time. Now, the enemy would be approaching in singular 2 or single line formation. Their goal would be penetrating. Our line here, try to encircle us. So, our center of the wing should be heavy ships. I brought heavy first rates here. They're gonna have to put a lot of fire onto the approaching enemy to stop them from breaking through this line here. Now the side of the wing should be a bit faster ships. I brought third rate ship of the line here. I could bring frigates, but frigates don't really have much chance against the ship of the line when they actually get into combat. Now, this formation is gonna work like wings, so what we're gonna do is try to form these encircling balls so they could all focus fire onto this direction which enemy fleet would be approaching, so the end of the wing should be faster because they have to move forward and finish the form. Now, another crucial factor for this formation, I brought fire support ships. Now, if you have used fire support ships, which would be rocket ships and bomb catch in Empire Total War or Napoleon Total War naval battles, you will realize that they cannot really fight against the enemy really well. They are kind of like artillery in ground battles. They can shoot over the friendly line in front of them, has a long range. Now, first of the fire support ship would be rocket ship. Rockets are really good in naval battles because they can shoot rockets. Rockets, their main purpose is not actually damaging the ship, but actually setting the ship on fire. In naval battles, if your ship is on fire, you have to disable the fire at will so the gun crew can move over to the fire and try to extinguish it. And it is better to be out of the engagement when you do that. So if your ship is on fire, disengage, get out of the combat, get out of the enemy range, disable the fire at will so they could take out the fire. In Napoleon Total War also, you have the repair button which will take out the fire a little bit faster, but I'm not sure. But if you fail to disengage from the enemy while you're on fire, the fire is gonna spread and eventually reach the ammo rack, and it's gonna blow up the whole fucking ship. So make sure you don't set the ship on fire. Make sure you extinguish the fire fast. Now, next of the fire support ship would be bomb catch. Bomb catch shoots the same way, but it's not really focused on setting the enemy ship on fire, but rather just damaging them. Bomb catch is essentially just a mortar ship. It shoots mortar rounds, mostly cluster, all of them cluster. So let's say this bomb catch shot at this ship or the line here. The accuracy is something not to be admired, but if it hits luckily on top of it and the round explodes right about here, spraying the shrapnel all over its upper deck, it could, if you're lucky, take out like 6 guns on the upper deck and damage the crew. So bomb catch is more about damaging the ship from behind the line, and rocket ships about setting the ship on fire. And also, if you're in online battle, if you have fire support ships, then enemy is obviously gonna be out of range, so they have to come to you. Now, I'm gonna start the battle. So the plan is, once the second line fire support ships fire upon the enemy, and when the enemy ships are in range for the first line, our first line ship's gonna shoot the bow gun, the gun to the head of their ship. So once they do that, you have to quickly spread them out. Like this, to now form a engaging line. And also, to do that, as I told you before, you shouldn't really move the fleet as groups. So if you use group order, then the ships will try to go back to the formation, whatever they think they are assigned to. So you need to get used to giving orders to individual ships separately. Keys you must remember is set sail key. It'll make them start moving, and the increase sail and decrease sail key. So I'm gonna show you. Good. First line ships are set sail with their full sail. Second line ships obviously have to stay behind the first line. They're going a little bit slower. Oh, and make sure these fire support ships don't go over this line here. What a single broadside from a ship of the line could easily blow the shit out of these guys. So second line is opening fire. There we go, setting the enemy ship on fire. Now let's wait till our... yeah. This ship just shot the bow gun, which means that the enemy ship is actually in range, so I'm gonna try to reform the fighting battle line. If you press space, you can see where the ships are going. Alright, so wind is that direction. If these guys go, and these guys are moving in favor of the wind, so their game plan right now is trying to outrun our guys here and try to form a flanking maneuver, circling around them. If they manage to circle around here, then this ship here is gonna be at this disadvantage because it has to face more guns. So we're gonna stop that from happening, so we have to move faster. Well, when you're giving orders to your ship, you don't have to order them to go far away. The ships are slow anyway, so you can just order them to move a little bit in front of them. I'm using the slow motion mode here to make it a little bit easier for me. Now, what you don't want to do is letting these guys proceed in this direction because they have a arc of fire around here, so we don't want to work into that. We're gonna follow this line here. And also make the second line ship with the fire support ships to stop because they are already in our range. Okay, let's do this. So enemy ship is on fire, so they gave up. Yeah, as you can see, he just got hit from this side. This is the rear end, and it took some moral shock. But I think it's gonna blow up soon. Do not break the line. Do not break the line. Maintain the line. Once the ships get tangled, it takes a whole lot of time for some of the ships to get back to combat because their line of fire is blocked by a friendly ship. This ship was proceeding this direction, which would have blocked the line of sight for this one and created a hole here. Keep them moving. It's enough to order the ship behind to move to the previous location of the ship in front of them. Oh yeah, don't do that. Now, as you can see, I told you about the arc of fire already created in the enemy line. Our right wing is taking hit from these guys, so we need to get out of there quick. Now, if we get out of here, you would wonder if if the enemy could flank around here, but if they try to move around here, they are moving against the wind, so it's gonna be hard for them. So I'm feeling free to do so, especially when they don't have any steamships to go against the wind. Good. Okay, so in naval battle, enemy ships will start flinkering and start routing, and then when they take too much damage, they will surrender. Once surrendered, this guy's done for. Fire spread too much, and once the mast is on fire, like this, the whole mast, it's about to blow up. Fortunately, this ship, which was sailing right next to it, took the hit from the blowing up friendly ship, and it caught on fire majorly, and also surrendered. So, if you see a ship that is on fire and smoking, it would be wise to get away from that ship because that ship might blow up soon. Okay, good. Now the situation here is that they cannot really move around here that well because they're going against the wind if they do so, and we have these guys to stop that from happening. Or if you have some extra fun, you could just bring some frigates, heavy frigates, American 24-pounder or Razy for the rest of the factions, or fifth rate. Steamship would also do well. So if they try to flank around here, or some of the ships manage to go through your first line, you could use these frigates if you bring some. But I don't have money for that, so... Okay, the situation here is that they are upwind. We cannot go to them because we are against the wind, but they can decide which part of our line to attack, when to attack. So you could say that they are in advantage of the wind right here. But I'm not that worried about that because they've lost significant amount of their forces already. Okay, I'm gonna stop the end of the right wing because some of their ships are trying to flank around. Once that happens, I'm gonna try to disengage and move to this direction to stop them from coming. Okay, since the enemy ships are badly damaged, we're gonna go a little bit aggressive. So what I'm trying to do is move around here, move around in this direction, so you could fire, this ship could fire their guns on the left side, which should be port side. And these guys gonna stay here, stay in this formation for a bit longer because they got this guy to deal with. Or you could move, or you can move around here. Now, this is actually a mistake because I'm moving this direction, and as I'm doing so, I'm exposing my rear end. And if this barrage hit the rear end, not the side, this ship could have been damaged really badly and also could receive the moral shock. Okay, it's routing. Okay, it's routing, so I'm gonna feel free to engage on this side too. Proceed on this side too. Okay, this ship also surrendered. So I'm gonna use these ships to also form a line here. Sunfire. Okay, you don't see the smoke coming up, but it's on fire, right? And it surrendered, which means that it surrendered because it took much damage. So it might not, they might not be able to catch the fire, extinguish the fire. So don't go near them. You saw the blowing up ship damaging the nearby ship too. Don't go near them. Oh, they're pushing through. Alright, some of the ships might escape, go through our friendly line and try to flank around. In that case, since these ships were facing this direction, only the left broadside is already shot the enemy. So right side, the other side is is already loaded but hasn't fired yet. So you can just use that side to shoot on the enemy, like this. And doing at that, you can hit the rear end of the enemy ship. And you surrender. Okay, that ship's gonna blow up too. Alright, we're gonna... now what I'm gonna do is trying to take advantage of the upwind situation here because these ships can move up to this direction and can easily move forward, advance towards this direction to attack the enemy. Oh, these ships are in trouble actually. Once you're outnumbered, don't try to get mingled with them, especially if it's British fleet. They have higher hit points and better fucking reload speed. Don't get in close range dogfight with British fleet, that's just foolish. Especially when you're outnumbered like this. As I told you, in naval battle, ships are quite slow, so it's gonna take a long time for our ships to start engaging with these guys. So you can create this kind of local superiority. For example, British fleet here has local superiority against our fleet here because the rest of the fleet doesn't really have doesn't really engage the local, the rest of our fleet are having a hard time engaging these guys here because they are far away. And it's gonna take a long time for them to get there. Okay, second, fire support ships, they have long range, so you don't have to move them a lot, but if the enemy is out of our range, you have to move. Oh, another thing. If you want to capture the enemy ship, don't really go for boarding. You're gonna take a close range broad shot trying to do so, which will deal much more damage. Just focus fire on them, make them surrender like this. After the battle, the surrender ships will be considered captured. If you want to make the ship to go forward without the destination, so they can stop at the destination, just click on set sail, and yeah, it's gonna keep moving to that direction it's going. I don't know what they're trying to do, but if they keep moving to that direction, we have to do a wild goose chase. And while running away, this ship right here is taking fire from the rear end, which is gonna be bad for it. Another thing, you would wonder, the enemy fleet was trying to maintain the formation as long as they could. That's because you would wonder, why wouldn't they just break the formation and run straight to our line? That's mainly because the AI trying to maintain the formation as long as their admiral is still alive. Okay, so we're doing wild goose chase. The battle itself is pretty much done. We have won. Just what remains is how much damage they can do. For example, this ship right here could go down because the right side is severely damaged, as you can see here. If that happens, you can just... oh, fuck. Okay, that's the problem when you're trying to run away. When you're trying to move, make sure you don't get hit from the rear end. Right now, this guy took hit from the rear end, is now retreating. It is probably gonna be recovering the morale and come back to be able to command right around here. But anyway, so if your ship is damaged like this, as this guy is doing right here, disengage, run away, get out of the enemy range, and in Napoleon Total War you can actually repair the ship. Disengage, repair the ship, restore the hull damage. It cannot repair the gun, but it's yeah, you can, if you repair the hull, then you can stay longer in the combat. The ships in the front are third rates, so they're gonna have a better chance of running away, but this guy right here is second rate. It's gonna take all the hit we're gonna throw at him. And one of the perks about playing French faction is that their French ships are a bit faster than British ships, so we're gonna catch on to them eventually. I don't know where we're gonna catch up with them, but we will. Okay, it's back on... yeah, it's back, but I don't really want to risk losing this ship trying to chase the enemy fleet. Now, this is the reason the maintaining the formation is quite important. If you try to engage them, some of the ships behind can be blocked by friendly forces and cannot engage the enemy even though you're in close range. Okay. Oh, they restored their courage and trying to engage us. Now, since this ship is severely damaged on the right side, which is the starboard, so I'm gonna try to engage them with my left side ports. Don't walk straight into it. You got firing arc here, here, and here. So this ship is about to be taking fire from 3 ships at once. Oh, I wasn't moving the ship on the behind properly. Oh, and you might complain about the speed of the naval battle in Empire Total War and Napoleon Total War being too slow, but in real life it's about one third of this speed right here, which is demonstrated in the game. So yeah, there's that. And if you play Darth mode for some reason tried to go for realism, so it's even slower than this. So if you are playing Darth mode, just open up the database, edit the ship speeds in general, or it's gonna be fucking cancerous. Okay. So, as I told you, once the enemy ships surrender, they do not return to combat, so it is nice to focus fire on one ship, take a moral shock in short amount of times to make them surrender. Then even though the ship isn't actually that much damage, they're gonna surrender right away and won't come back to the fight. And I'm gonna make this a retreat, but too late. If you wanna fire a specific ship, you can use this manual fire, which is doing this, but doesn't really have that much of accuracy. It doesn't deal that much of damage to the enemy ship because the accuracy is shit. So what you want to do is disable the fire at will button, disable the fire with will button because anyway, so disable the fire wheel button, and when the ship you want to shoot is right in the center of your firing arc, then click the fire wheel button again to enable it. That way you can achieve the accurate pinpoint sniping fire you are aiming for. Alright, I can try to get this ship back in combat, but I don't want to because I don't want to risk anything. Alright, that's the game. If you were being smart, you could have just disabled the fire wheel, wait for these guys to turn right this direction, and now click the fire wheel, and you could hit nice nasty shots on the rear of the ship, leading them to surrender. Come on, you fucking surrender. Come on. Yes, that's the game. So that's how you use wing formation in naval battles.